the software that we represent with Anytime Collect. So I guess without further ado, let's dig into the topic. What I want to do first, though, is just talk a little bit about Anytime Collect. Anytime Collect is a product that we developed, God, I think it was in 2008 when we first introduced the product. And back then, we introduced the solution because there was a market need, and there actually still is a pretty good market need out there now. You use an ERP system. I know a lot of you on the call are probably using like a QuickBooks or a Sage ERP product or Epicor or something else, Microsoft. And all those are great tools for managing your business, but none of the ERP solutions really do a great job of managing accounts receivable. You can create invoices, you can send them out, but there's this huge gap that occurs in between when the invoice goes out and when you get paid. And that's really the gap that we fill. So our application, which is known as Anytime Collect, or also through Epicor as Epicor Cash Collect, has a number of different features and functions within it. This is just kind of a highlight or a summary of some of the major things that we bring to the table. We can automate emails out to your customers so that they know that they have a statement, an open invoice report, a past due notice. We can do mail merge templates so you have complete control over the messaging. We can build prioritized call lists for the companies that owe you money and are due for a collection call. We have integrated dispute management, business intelligence, you can understand what's working, what's not, document management, so you can manage invoices, statements, proof of delivery documents, all the things that go along with that. We do also offer the application in multiple languages. So if you are conducting business across borders, you can communicate with your customers in their preferred language, and you can also log into the software in different languages if you happen to have collectors that speak English versus Portuguese or Spanish or what have you. Some additional functionality, cash flow forecasting, being able to give you statistical analysis of what AR you should expect to receive, when you can expect to receive it, centralizing all that information in one place, giving you tools to manage credit risk, synchronizing all the data to your back-end ERP or accounting system, managing your credit teams, email alerts, so you can get notifications when customers have large disputes, or a certain invoice over a certain amount is a number of days late. And then last but not least really is payment schedules. And then the topic, of course, of today is online payments, which is another piece that we're going to go into more depth here in a second. Before we get started, though, I always like to do a little primer. We all know that our accounts receivable is important. How important is it? In most businesses, AR is typically the largest or the second largest asset for your business. If you're a manufacturer, you probably think it might be your capital equipment, and maybe it is, but your AR is probably typically second. If you're a professional service firm, you have a lot invested in your people, but your second largest asset is probably your AR. And I always think it's kind of backward. We buy capital equipment, we're a manufacturer, and we invest in preventative maintenance software to make sure that it continues to perform. But if accounts receivable is our number one or number two asset in our business, what do we really do to maintain that asset? Anytime Collect is kind of preventative maintenance for your cash flow. So incredibly important to pay attention to that. Just some statistics here. A lot of the companies we work with, industry average, they're getting paid in about 61 days. Some companies, they look at that and they say, it's not that bad. But then I ask them, what are your average credit terms with your customers? And most companies their average credit terms are about 28 days, net 30, some a little bit lower than that. But that doesn't really make sense now, right? We're offering on average net 28 terms, but our customers are taking 61 days to pay us. There's a disconnect there. Companies that implement systems like our Anytime Collect are able to get paid about 10 to 20% faster. So what does that mean? It means your cash is in your bank, not sitting in your AR balance sheet 9 days faster. So it's a significant improvement in your cash flow and your access to working capital. Another statistic here, we all know this is true. The longer that an invoice goes unpaid, the less likely it'll ever get paid. If you have invoices that age out to 3 months, about 26% of them are going to be uncollectible. If those invoices age out to 6 months, you're looking at 70% that are going to be uncollectible, or at least uncollectible in full. And if they get out over a year, you might collect about 10% of those. So it's really important to be proactive at the front end. It's really important to be able to get the information to our customers, because most customers want to pay us. We just create these barriers and make it more difficult for them. On average, most businesses are writing off about 4% of their AR every year. Now, again, that may not sound like a whole lot, but let's put that in perspective. If you're doing $10 million a year in revenue, that means you're writing off $400,000. And that's not chump change. That's a lot of money, especially if you're a distributor, you're in a low-margin business. I mean, you have to make up a lot of sales just to cover that $400,000 loss. By being more proactive, most of our customers are getting a minimum of a 10% improvement in that bad debt write-off. That's a $40,000 annual savings, and in most cases, our software doesn't even come close to that cost. So your ROI is typically going to be about 2 months, sometimes, a little bit longer, but typically within that first year, and then you're going to have additional savings that go into subsequent years. So don't throw your money away. We can help you save a lot more of it. So to the topic of the day is electronic invoice presentment and payment. And my question to everybody, my peers, why do we make it so difficult for our customers to pay the bill? And we're sort of like putting this tree in front of the trail, right? We're sending them an invoice. We're not giving them maybe all the information they need. They have to log it into their system. They have to cut a check. They have to put it in an envelope. They have to mail it to us. That whole process is very, very cumbersome. We live in the digital age. There's a lot of new technologies coming out. But for some reason, we're still doing business the old way with paper and snail mail. There's a better way. What if we could make it so much easier and such a more enjoyable experience for our customers? Instead of putting that tree across the path, what if we gave them some stairs and a beautiful view? That's what we're going to do for you today, is show you how we can do that using technology for online bill payments. So let's take one little step back here and look at a traditional process. So with a typical collections process, we are creating an invoice. We are then entering into the system, posting it, printing it, putting it in an envelope, mailing it out. On the collection side, we're prioritizing the calls we need to make. We are preparing for those calls, getting the contact information, looking up what happened last. Again, all very inefficient processes. But if we look over on the right, if we're operating in more of an automated system, we can eliminate a lot of the prioritization and preparation that goes on in accounts receivable. What that allows us to do is spend 300% more time talking and communicating with our customers to get paid. So why do we want to automate invoice payments? And I got some numbers here for you. So 4 is the low-end cost estimate to process a paper check. For every check that your customers are sending you, that's going to cost you $4 to process that check. That's your cost, not the customer's cost. 20 is the high-end cost estimate, so you're probably somewhere in between there. And if you really dug in and looked at the process, you get the check, you've got to enter it, you've got to post it, you got to clear it with the bank, you got to do reconciliations, and that's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort. Plus there's bank fees involved. 85, that's the percent of fraud cases associated with checks to begin with. Pretty high percentage there, so we want to avoid those. And 30 is the low-end estimate for the labor reduction you can get by implementing EIPP or automated invoice payments. Now the high end of that is 60. So by using a solution for electronic invoice payment and presentment, you're going to get a 30 to 60% reduction in the labor. So what does this process look like today? On a manual side, we're going to create that invoice, we print it, we mail it. It's going to take us days to weeks weeks to get that to the customer. The customer gets it, they open the mail, they review the invoice, they enter the voucher, they create the check, they print the check, they mail the check. With EIPP, we create the invoice. The software picks up the invoice from there, delivers the invoice to the customer with a hyperlink. They click the link, they pay their invoice online, and all you have to do is reconcile the credit card payment. And we're going from days to weeks to minutes to hours. So how do we do all this? The first step is you guys create the invoices in your accounting system. You're going to do that anyway. We synchronize that data into our application, and then from there, everything else can be automated. So you create an email template, something like the example you have on the screen. You know, attached is your monthly statement. You can see the statement attached here at the bottom. You can click here to pay your account with a credit card in our secure self-service customer portal. Now, we do support both ACH and credit card transactions from that portal. We'll talk about that here in a minute. These emails can be customized to a group of customers, so you can have different templates that go out. And again, all you have to do is click a button. Emails are all delivered to every single customer that has an open invoice that needs to be paid. They click that link, it takes them out to the portal. They don't have to remember the domain to go to or your website. They don't have to remember a username or a password. They click the link, it's encrypted, it logs them in automatically. You can see here, welcome Gallagher Services. And here's their online statement. They can click the PDF icon to get the actual PDF copy of the invoice. They can review the amounts and the balance due on each of those amounts. They then select the invoices they want to pay. It's going to total them up for them. They can't override that. Maybe they want to short pay you. Maybe something was messed up on one of the invoices. And then they click the Make a Payment button. The Make a Payment button is going to open up a payment form. We partner with a company called SoluPay. We'll talk a little bit more about them here in a little bit. Your customers will enter their credit card and or ACH information depending on which transactions you want to allow. Everything is going to be encrypted. It's all PCI compliant. And those payment transactions are going to be synchronized back into your accounting or ERP system. Okay, or if there is not an integration to your specific ERP, worst case scenario, they're going to send you a spreadsheet or a CSV file or whatever format you want of the online payments that have been made, and then you import those into your accounting system. Okay. While your customers are on that portal, you have the option. We do integrate with LiveChat. So let's say that my customer Gallagher is logged into the portal, getting ready to make a payment. At the very bottom, they're going to see a little Chat Now button. Me as a credit collections professional, I can be logged into LiveChat, and they can ask me questions. Hey, this invoice doesn't look right. I thought the price was different. You charged me tax. I'm tax exempt. Whatever it happens to be, whatever questions they have around their account. All that communication history is then stored within our software, so you have the full text of that chat tied to the account. So one thing that you could integrate is optional. We have a lot of customers that implement this as kind of a phase 2. And here's just an example of that communication from the chat that is stored back against the account. Now what happens is in our application, since we're not directly interfaced real-time into the back-end ERP system, we're going to store that online payment as what we call a pending payment. Okay? You'll be able to see if the transaction was declined, if it was approved, and then what's going to happen is you get those payments, you import them or enter them back into your accounting system. The next time we do a data sync, we're going to look at our pending payments, match those up against the actual payments just to ensure that they did in fact get into your accounting or ERP system. When we find them, we convert the pending payment to the actual payment, so you have that reconciliation there. You'll also see over here on the Actions tab that's available within the software, you'll have notifications. So let's say that customers paid us online, but for whatever reason we didn't get those transactions into our accounting system. We're going to give you a little notification. There's a pending payment. No response basically means we don't see it in the accounting system, and it's been greater than 7 days, so we can go and research that problem. From a setup standpoint, it's really, really simple to set up the online bill pay. So what you're going to do is you're going to establish for each of the companies within your ERP system, because even QuickBooks has multiple companies, right? You're going to set up a merchant account. You're going to define the payment page, so you can have different payment pages with different branding for each of the companies within your organization. You're going to define the default currency. We are multi-currency, so you can accept payments in different currencies. And then you're going to filter this down by the credit class, which is basically a group of different customers. Which ones do you allow to make payments online? Do you allow them to make payments via ACH, credit card, or both? And on the back end, we can even limit the amounts. A lot of companies we work with, they don't want to accept the credit card payment for, an amount due over, I don't know, $10,000 or $20,000 because of the credit card fees. And those larger transactions, you probably want to push them more for an ACH type of a payment because the fees are typically much lower. Here's the merchant account setup. Again, you can see the company, the currency, the max payment amount, etc. The hyperlink, I always get asked this, we're sending these hyperlinks out in the email that the customers can click, and there's always questions around the security on that. The way we handle that is within the portal in the options here. We can set that link to expire after a certain number of days or a certain number of clicks before we have to send them a new link. And you can have really any combination thereof. So the example I have here on the screen is that guest hyperlink can expire in 30 days or it could expire in 10 clicks, or whichever one comes first. Customers, you define which accounts are able to make online bill payment, which is the bottom here. And then you also define which customers and contacts are going to be included in your email that you're sending out. So I may only send certain types of communication for online bill pay to certain contacts within my customers. The other question I always get is, all right, this is great, my customers can pay their bills online, that's fantastic. But what happens when I'm talking to the customer on the phone and they say, you know what, I've got a credit card, can I make a payment right now? You don't want to force them away to go do this on their own. You can actually go within our software to the customer statement, and just like they can do online in a self-service model, you can verbally select the invoices they're agreeing to pay, click the Make a Payment button, take that credit card, process that transaction, and the same thing will happen that you're doing on their behalf that they would have been doing in the self-service model. Documents and attachments are incredibly important here. If you have PDF copies of the invoices, we can sync those in and attach those to emails, make them available to you, make them available to your customers via the portal. If you're using like a Sage 100 ERP, I know they have Paperless Office that can do this. If you're using different ERPs, sometimes they have document management systems that can create it. We also have a product that we sell called Anytime Docs that allows you to create PDF copies of those original invoices. In some cases, you will also require supporting documents, or your customers may require them. They could be a timesheet that goes along with an invoice for time and billing. You may need a proof of delivery and a distribution model. You might need a freight invoice and transportation logistics. You could require a packing list or something in manufacturing. So we can, in many cases, integrate multiple documents that are attached at the invoice level as well as at the account level. Things like maybe a credit application, business credit application, maybe it's a credit review document, could even be credit scores and credit reports on your accounts. The other side of this is that your customers from the portal can also upload documents. So let's say that you send them a credit application, maybe they're applying for extended credit terms or an increase in their credit limit. You can send them those documents, they can complete them, and they can upload those back to the portal, and then you're going to get a notification within our software that you have a new document that requires you to do a review. On the customer portal, this is your customer portal, so you can control the branding. So when your customers are going to pay you, you can put your logo. You can have a rotating banner that is displayed and hyperlinked, so if they click it, it'll take them to a page that you host. And you can also link it to an RSS feed so that you can have your company news or product news displayed when they log into the portal. Now, so far we've talked about making it extremely easy by giving the customer a link in an email. All they have to do is click it and it takes them to the portal. But there may be cases where you want to give a customer a dedicated username and password to log in whenever they want. We do support that model as well. For each of your customers, you can give them a login ID. You can generate a password. And when you save this, it's going to automatically send them an email with their user credentials and the URL that they will go to log in to the customer portal. They can then go log in whenever they want. You could create a hyperlink to that login page off of your website or really wherever you need to put that. Let's talk a little bit about credit card processing and why we work with SoluPay. I'm going to explain a little bit more about who SoluPay is. If you look at the components of credit card processing, there's about 8 of those. Okay, so you have the vendor, which is you, right? You're the merchant. You're selling a product or service to your customer. Then you have a payment gateway that you're working with. Then you have the payment processor. You have the card issuing bank, that's your customer's bank backing that payment. And then you have, again, the processor, the payment gateway, again, you, the merchant, and the transaction result. This is kind of the flow everything goes through. This can be very difficult to understand. There's so many steps, so many players involved. We work with SoluPay because they have 11 years of experience as an ISO or MSP, basically meaning that they work with the banks, they work with the gateways, they work with the payment processors to get you the best rate. They have an A+ rating on Better Business Bureau and on cardpaymentoptions.com. And they help you make sense of this. Little numbers on SoluPay here. 40+, that is the number of payment gateways that they work with, which is pretty much every single transaction goes through these gateways. 0.52, that is the average effective rate reduction that they're getting for our customers. In fact, they have yet to have a customer that they couldn't save money for on credit card transactions. 27 is the percent lower that they are from their competitors. 97 is their customer retention rate. But the big number here, this is the average savings that SoluPay is providing to our Anytime Collect and Epicor Cash Collect customers annually. So you look at all of your credit card fees, go pull your last credit card statement. They're going to save you $10,000 a year on average. On the high end, we've had one customer that saved $80,000, and on the low end, I think we had a customer that saved about $4,000 or $5,000. We have yet to have a single customer that was not able to save money just by switching to SoluPay as their merchant service provider. A couple of FAQs I always get. Can you continue to work with your current bank or your ISO or MSP? You can. So SoluPay works with pretty much every bank out there, so that really is not going to be an issue. But there are some companies that already have an established relationship with another merchant processor. Maybe it's PayFlow Pro with PayPal. Could be really a number of any others out there on the market. You can continue to work with them for any of the transactions, the credit card transactions that you're processing from within your accounting or ERP system. On the online payments, though, we only integrate at this time to SoluPay, so the online payments would go through SoluPay as the MSP. You will have to go through an underwriting process that typically takes about 3 to 5 business days, and they can, in most cases, help you qualify for either level 2 or level 3. And what that really means is that they're passing more information regarding the transaction and the credit card the type of product or service, and they're able to help you qualify for lower rates. We all know what's going on with the EMV chip regulations. Really has nothing to do with online payments. It's more of the card-present transactions. SoluPay can also help you with that if you happen to have a brick-and-mortar storefront and you're taking credit card payments at a cash register. We do have a lot of large companies using our solution with SoluPay, and a lot of companies ask, can you support global transactions? And the answer is yes and no. There are certain geographies and certain countries where we don't support integration today. We are looking at alternatives for that. So give us a call and we can talk more specifically about your specific needs. Again, everything is PCI compliant. And then the big question is, how long until I get my money? With a bank ACH transaction, that's typically going to be about 2 to 3 business days, sometimes the first day. With a credit card payment, sometimes you'll get it the first day, but typically no more than 1 to 2 business days. So we ran through a whole lot today, and what I want to do here is kind of open it up for questions. I do have my contact information on the screen. We have a full white paper that we have developed that goes into really these topics in a lot more detail. We'll make sure that we get that new white paper in your hands. If you have any questions whatsoever, you want a personalized demonstration, you can contact me at that contact information on the screen. You can also get a lot more information on our websites, anytimecollect.com, epicorcashcollect.com is for the Epicor customers that might be on the call today. And if you want more information about SoluPay as an MSP or ISO merchant provider, I have their website listed here as well. So I went through a lot pretty quick. I'm going to kick it back over to Adrian to wrap us up.
Thank you, Jim. Great presentation. I'm going to go ahead and launch some polls while we're announcing the questions here. So if we could just get a little bit more information from the audience, that'd be fantastic. So if you could just take a moment to answer this poll, audience, that would be great. And Jim, can you please provide a PDF of these slides? And I was wondering if we could maybe put the PDF in the follow-up email that I'm going to send along with the recording?
Yep, we can do that. I can either send that to you in PDF format, or I can send you the original PowerPoint. You can forward that or save it as a PDF.
I believe the PDF will be fine. We'll just send that with the email along with the recording. And which ERP systems does this integrate with, do you work with?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we work with pretty much everything out there. Okay, now there's 2 different ways that we integrate. We have standard interfaces that we build, we maintain, we support for Intuit QuickBooks, most of the Sage ERP products, Sage 100, 500, 300, X3, and others. Sage 50 being the old Peachtree product. Microsoft Dynamics, we have a standard interface to a GP, the old Great Plains product. Epicor being Epicor ERP. I think that's it for the standard interfaces. Now, if you're using something else, and we run into this every single day, we have a generic CSV flat file integration where we'll work with you. There's a series of templates that we'll provide. You schedule a data extract to occur from your accounting or ERP system. That could happen daily, hourly, however frequently you want to update those files. We then have a sync utility that will pull in the data into our application from those CSV files. We've used that to integrate to a number of different Infor products, SAP, Oracle, homegrown stuff on IBM iSeries, Macola, really a whole slew of different ERP applications we use that generic flat file for.
And what is just roughly the cost? Okay,
good question. So like every piece of software, right, the pricing is never as simple as we want it to be. If you're QuickBooks, You could get into the product with our basic edition. That is $60 per month. It is kind of a scaled down version. It is limited to one user, but fairly inexpensive. Whether you're on QuickBooks or any other ERP product, you're probably also going to be interested in our standard edition. That is $150 per month per user. You can have multiple users on that platform, additional functionality. If you want an inquiry user, inquiry users are typically used for maybe a CFO, a controller, or a sales rep. They want to find out what's happening in credit collections, but they're not really managing day-to-day activities. That price is $30 per month. If you want to buy the product outright, standard edition is $2,500 per user, and that's a one-time purchase. You pay an annual maintenance support on that, like a traditional software purchase. And the inquiry users on that are $500 each. And if you happen to have really, really advanced needs, we can also look at our enterprise edition. Typically, those are companies using SAP or Oracle, kind of the higher end of our market space. And that product is $5,000 per user. And I have to look. I think the inquiry user is the same price. I think it's $500 per user on the inquiry.
And when you say per user, Jim, real quick, when you say per user, is that per year? Is that an annual?
On the subscription, yeah, on the subscriptions, it's per year. If you're buying the product outright, it's a one-time, and then you pay the annual maintenance support contract on top of that, and that would be the recurring part.
And then can this system be used independently without ERP?
Yes and no. I mean, we don't really have a place to maintain invoice information or customer or account information. We're looking at a data source. I think we have a couple customers that are simply using the CSV files for that. So instead of getting the data out of their ERP system, they're just going into the CSV file, entering the information into that, and then we're pulling that data in. So you can kind of do it in a standalone fashion, but not really. I mean, most of the time, companies are going to be using some sort of an accounting system. The other thing probably worth mentioning is that you can also integrate with multiple data sources. That's available in our Advanced Sync. We do work with a number of companies where they're using their accounting system, but maybe they're using a third-party billing or invoicing application. So we might be able to pull customer information from the ERP and pull invoicing information from a completely separate database. So that's also an option.
And can you reference a success story that stands out in your mind implementing and the benefits that the customer received?
Yeah, I could do that. I'll give you a couple examples. So we had one customer. It was Systems Maintenance Services. We actually have a video testimonial we did with them. And we had contacted them, we all do, right, asking them if they could give us a testimonial, if they've had any major successes with the product. And we were expecting, we knew they were doing pretty good with it, but we really didn't know how well. They actually floored us. They came back and told us that within 1 year of using Anytime Collect, they were able to reduce their day sales outstanding by 40%. They went from a DSO of about 67, so they were getting paid in 67 days, down to a DSO of 40 days. That's 27 days they were getting paid faster. That's almost a month faster. The other thing that they told us, which again, my jaw hit the floor, I couldn't have asked for a better success story or case study, they collected more money in 2012 than they invoiced because they were able to go back and collect additional outstanding invoices from previous years, as well as just about everything they invoiced in 2012. We had another customer recently, MSpark, not as high of a reduction in DSO, but I think theirs was around 20 to 25% reduction in the first year. We've had customers that have been able to get marginal, maybe 10% reductions in DSO, but they're able to do it with less people. Maybe they had 2 people in their collections department, and they were able to take that down to 1 person, still manage growth, and then use that other person elsewhere within their organization. So there's a lot of different benefits. If you hit the website at anytimecollect.com and go to the benefits page, you can read through all the benefits, and at the very bottom we have a number of different success stories listed, so you can read the stories of some of our customers in a little more detail there.
And I'm not seeing any more questions at this time, Jim, but I do have a poll up for the audience, and I wondered if I could just have the audience answer this one last poll. Thank you so much for taking time out. And it looks like we're early as far as our webinar is concerned, so you have a little bit more time to get some stuff done, and we really just appreciate you. I know it's hard to set aside time in your busy day to attend these webinars, and we really just appreciate your attendance and your interest. We will be sending everybody who registered a copy of the recording and the PDF slides that Jim will send over to me. And Jim, would you like to close with any remarks?
You know, I just want to thank everybody for taking time out. I think this is something that is going to be tremendously valuable to many of you on the call today. It may not apply to everybody. Certainly no technology is going to fit everyone's needs. But you know, if you have any questions, concerns, give us a call. We're not going to be high pressure sales. We're here to help you. You know, if we have a solution that's going to provide value to you, you know, we'll walk you through that. We'll answer your questions, your concerns, and hopefully at the end of the day, we have something that will help you get paid a lot faster, a lot easier, improve your customer support, customer retention, and just make your lives really a whole lot easier.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much, everybody, once again, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.